Hi to all the science buffs and self-biohackers out there. I am Clas Sivertsen, the Chief Science Officer and founder of Assaya. And in this short video today, I will go through my own histopathology after having been infected by SARS-CoV2 in May, and then subsequently testing every day 3 times by lateral flow assays that are read quantitatively by our universal lateral flow assay reader that can read any lateral flow assay in seconds. I will go through the numbers and describe how the eCT value works, that is the equivalent cycle threshold, which is compared to PCR cycle threshold or CT value. There will be a link to the full video in the description. And the second part will be another video where we go through the antibody response, looking at the various immunoglobulins that are produced post-infection. Thank you and enjoy, and look forward to reading your comments.
Hi, so I'm here in the home lab and positive for COVID-19, and it's most likely the Omicron variant that is raging through Taiwan right now. So I've been confirmed positive 4 days ago. Here is the test kits that I've been using. These are homemade test kits, but these are made in collaboration with some labs here in Taiwan, different swabs, different buffer and reagents, but they're very sensitive. These started out early on with a weak positive. This one right here, this one is around the eCT value. So that's equivalent cycle threshold value to PCR. This one starts out at around 30, and then the next one starts to go down to 25, and it stays at 25 for a couple of days. And then today it went up to 26 down here. So it's creeping up, which means that the infection is probably clearing. I've been completely asymptomatic the whole time. I'm unvaccinated, and I've never had SARS-CoV2 before, as far as I know. And I know that because I've tested for antibodies. I tested 2 days ago for different type of antibodies. So that's IgG, IgM antibodies. All these are done by finger prick, and they're all negative 2 days ago. So we're going to test antibodies again later today, or just now. Then the other thing is, I'm completely asymptomatic from the beginning. Before the onset, when COVID was raging, I took hydroxychloroquine prophylactically, and just twice a day. And then when I actually got confirmed I had COVID, I added ivermectin, and I've added fluvoxamine twice a day. So together, that combination of drug has kept me completely asymptomatic. I have no fever, no headache, no loss of smell, no loss of taste. So everything is fine, and the infection is clearing. And I'm going to perform an antibody test. So the way we do that is just putting some alcohol, prick finger. What I like to do is to get some gravity in there, so get enough blood out. And we have 4 different antibody tests here today, which you're gonna see. Okay, so I got some pressure on this finger here. I'm just gonna use a needle. And then get some blood out. And then we use a pad here. Take some blood out. We need just a couple of drops of blood here. It's not deep enough, but just gonna squeeze if we can get it. This is the first test cassette here. To do a deeper probe here. Okay. Can be a little bit hard to do on yourself, but okay. There we go. That's the first one. Then comes the second one. So the first one is actually a a COVID-19 IgM test from Abbott, and the second one is an IgM test from ASK. The third one is a neutralizing antibody test kit from also from ASK. And the last one is from Eternal, which is a also an IgM test. So we get 4 different brands here. And the last one from Eternal has 2 different lateral flow assays in 1 cassette. And there we go. So now, make sure I have enough. About 2 microliters of blood there on each valve. Okay. There we go. Just like that. And now we have basically 2 drops of blood, just about like that. So what we do now is we drip the anticoagulant and reagent into the well. So that's the 2 drops there, 1 and 2. That's the Abbott test. Next comes the ASK test, which is 1, 2. And then the third one will be the neutralizing antibody test, also from ASK, 1, 2 drops. And then comes the Eternal 1, 2 IgM and 1, 2 for IgG. And as you can see now, all these different cassettes are now starting to develop. And while we're developing this, I will demonstrate another antigen test based on a homemade test kit kind of. These are well, it's made in a local factory, but we specified how this test kits perform. Basically, we have just the lateral flow inside, the lateral flow assay inside here. This is what it looks like. And we have a specially made swab that is extremely small. It looks like this. Very tiny swab. So by comparison, the original swab, like if you compare it to a swab that's used for PCR, for example, PCR swab is typically used in a viral transport medium like this. It's a pretty big swab there. And then you compare that to a typical nasopharyngeal swab. It's almost about the same size. And then comes a previous miniature swab. And then here comes our first generation swab of the miniature size. And compare that to now our latest generation, which I've been using for the past week here, which is even smaller, so small you can't see it almost. And that's the size compared to a nasopharyngeal swab. This is much less scary. I think you would agree. So we're going to take that out. We can see that there's one side that have a black ring on it. That's the handle. The other one is the swab part. Normally I should be using gloves for this. But so basically you can see that the size of this one is so that when you grab the end of it, it provides exactly the right length that it needs to be to get the right distance up the nose. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to prepare a buffer cup. So a buffer cup is where the buffer goes and where the mixing happens. So the buffer cup looks like this. It's very tiny. In that buffer cup, I'll prepare the extraction buffer, and that consists of a lysing agent that opens up the cell wall so that the nuclear capsid proteins can come out and be detected if they exist. And then here's a dropper. I'm going to put 5 drops in it. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's all it takes. So basically this is the buffer that's going to dissolve whatever's on that swab, if there's anything there. So there's the buffer cup. Here's the swab. And now I go until my fingers hit my nose. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's it. And now we just put this into here and give it about 10 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And that's it. So now what's going to happen is we'll take the strip. This is a fresh strip, and we're going to put it right into here with the swab still in the buffer there. Just like that. I'm going to hold it so that you can see how quickly it will start to develop. If you take, you can see that the red line is creeping up. That's the wet part. It's now slowly creeping up the on the lateral flow assay as it's being sucked up and wicked up through the paper, the nitrocellulose paper there. And now, I don't know if you can see that already, but you can see already that the test line is appearing and the control line is appearing. So this is less than 1 minute. So this is actually a 1 minute less than it took. If I didn't talk so much, it would actually take only 1 minute from the time I swabbed until you had the red line for this test. And there it is, 2 red lines. That means positive. Yeah. So no more 15 minutes if you use this method. So there you go. That's the smallest, most ecological, less biological waste, fastest and most sensitive rapid antigen test in the world right now, as far as I know. Made right here in Taipei City. Yeah. Okay, so now we can actually put that into the machine and we can read the eCT value of it. Just so I'll put this into the we built this analyzer. We started designing this one about 2 years ago now almost. And basically what you can see here is that the test is positive, and you can see now the eCT value has gone up to 28. So the eCT value, when it started out at about 30. Then it went all the way down to 25, which means it's a stronger positive. And now it's back up to 28. So it's creeping as the infection is clearing by my immune response. Then the viral load is diminishing, and it's now up to 28. So it will continue to climb up until it becomes negative eventually. And the antibody tests are still developing. They usually take a little bit longer, but so far it looks like it might be too early in the immune response stage of events to actually have produced a noticeable line yet. But we'll keep checking every day. Sometimes it will take 7 days. In somebody who is not previously infected or unvaccinated, yeah, it can take 7 days before you get the first immune response from IgM, and then later will come IgG. So over the next couple of weeks you can plot that curve. So typically what's happening behind the scenes right now is that the IgA, the immunoglobulin A, is the type of immunoglobulin that responds to first. That's called mucosal antibodies. So they will typically mount the first immune response in the nasal passages and nasal pharynx. So there you have it. There it is. So again, this infection has been no issue really. No fever, no headaches, no lack of sleep, no sneezing, no sore throat, and probably because of early treatment with prophylactics. So the prophylactics, again, started with ivermectin. Started with hydroxychloroquine first. Then, when I confirmed disease, ivermectin, and then fluvoxamine. Fluvoxamine helps to avoid long COVID as well, because that's the only one of these drugs that crosses the blood-brain barrier, essentially. So these three in combination. Some people, if you do get an infection and you have breathing difficulties, they will add citromycin, which is Citromax, which is this thing right here, and I haven't used that because I didn't have any symptoms of that yet. Some people who have other infections like chickenpox or they've had shingles before, they can treat with acyclovir as well, so there's no co-infection. But so far everything is fine. And try to avoid using fever, anything to reduce the fever. Fever is an important response of the body's defense mechanism, and the fever is there for a reason. You know, it helps with releasing. It helps to. It helps increasing the production of interferons, among other things, when the fever goes up enough. So a little bit of fever is good, and actually can help to clear the infection. Okay, so far, again, it looks like we have a very slight line on the neutralizing antibodies, but it's very faint. And the other test kits are still in development. Yeah, it's still too early to tell. Ever so faint line on neutralizing antibodies. And here in the Eternal kit, we have an actual IgM response. So that's encouraging. So all test kits, as you know, all test kits are not created equal. So here we actually found for the first time there is an IgM response by the Eternal kits. Eternal kit we have found is actually quite sensitive and quite good. Definitely a good kit, this one here. It's still not fully developed, but maybe in about another 5 minutes or so. Sometimes it can take a little bit longer, but definitely an IgM line here, noticeable. A weak IgM line. So that indicates the beginning of an immune response by immunoglobulin M. There. Okay, That's it. That's it for now.